Welcome, dear listeners, to this moonlit Friday the 13th, a night cloaked in superstition and fear. I am Mistress Midnight, your guide through these 3 bone-chilling tales that unravel under the ominous shadows of this fateful day. Prepare for a journey through the darkest recesses of Friday the 13th, where the ordinary blurs into the extraordinary and the unknown beckons in the moonlight. A lakeside cabin becomes the eerie setting for a group of friends, where the chilling whispers of the lake hold secrets darker than the night. Enjoy your stay at the cabin.
As someone who's always had a casual relationship with superstitions, I never quite understood the fear some people had for Friday the 13th. Triskaidekaphobia, they called it. The fear of the number 13. Pair it with paraskavidikatriophobia, the fear of Friday the 13th, and you've got a concoction of dread that sends shivers down the spines of many. But for us, a group of adventurous friends seeking a thrill, it was an opportunity to have a different kind of fright. Perhaps a little inspired by horror movies, we found excitement in the idea of spending a weekend in a remote cabin by the lake, specifically on the ominous date of Friday the 13th. The cabin, a hidden gem tucked away in the woods, was something right out of a movie. Nestled by the edge of a pristine lake, it oozed a rustic charm that beckoned to us. It was adorned with vintage decor, and a large stone fireplace stood proudly in the center of the living room. The looming trees cast eerie shadows as we arrived, the sky already threatening with an impending storm, setting a fittingly mysterious atmosphere. Our excitement mixed with a tinge of nervousness as we arrived at the cabin, ready to embark on our weekend getaway. The decision to plan our trip on Friday the 13th wasn't a coincidence. It was a tribute to the iconic horror movie that had always been our favorite. The thought of reliving some scenes from the movie added to the thrill of our adventure. However, there was an unspoken tension in the air, a lingering feeling that we were not alone. The locals had warned us of strange occurrences in this area, but we laughed it off, attributing it to the superstitious tales spun over generations. Little did we know that this Friday the 13th would unfold into an experience far beyond our expectations. So, we roll into the cabin and unpack, super stoked for our scary weekend. As the sun sets, things start feeling pretty creepy. Strange sounds float in the air, and we can't figure out where they're coming from. When the night gets darker, this freaky feeling sets in. You ever get that shiver down your spine? Yep, that's what we felt. We glance out the window and swear we spot shadowy figures moving around outside the cabin. Totally spooked us out, man. As typical guys, we start horsing around, exploring the cabin, just trying to have fun. Lo and behold, we stumble upon this old journal. It's full of weird stories about a disappearance that happened right around here on a past Friday the 13th. That's some freaky coincidence. Reading through the journal, we put 2 and 2 together, connecting the dots between the creepy stuff happening now and the vanishing act from years ago. It's like we've stepped into a real-life horror plot. Crazy, right? As the night ticks on, things go from weird to weirder. Those odd noises. They keep coming, making us all on edge. We're thinking it's just the old place creaking or the wind howling through the trees. But man, the darkness outside, it's playing tricks on us. We start imagining stuff, our minds running wild. Every little sound makes us jump. It's like being in a horror movie and we're the characters making all the dumb decisions. We peek out the window and see shadows moving. Heart-pounding stuff, right? Turns out it's just our imagination playing tricks on us. Or so we thought. And then there was this large bang outside. It sounded like a metallic bang which worried my friend Tom. He thought someone or something was messing with our car. He slowly tiptoed out, heading towards the car. It would have been funny if not for all the strange sounds we had heard. When Tom made it to the car, he noticed one of the car doors open. Panic sets in. Did we leave it like that, or is someone messing with us? I could see the look on his face. He was freaked out. He slammed the car door shut and ran back to the cabin, breathless and horrified. We're huddled inside, nerves shot, and we decide to tough it out. We're like, come on, guys, we're just scaring ourselves. We gather around and dig into that old journal we found, reading about the disappearance years ago. It's eerie, but we convince ourselves it's all coincidence. As the night goes on, we try to shake off the jitters, blaming it all on our overactive minds and horror movie imaginations. We decide to call it a night and get some rest, hoping the morning light will make everything seem less spooky. The next morning, we welcomed the rays of sunlight shining through the windows. Emboldened by the light, we muster up the courage to venture outside. As we start packing up, we notice how different everything seems in the daylight. The eerie charm of the cabin by the lake now looks more rustic and less spooky. We gather our stuff, nerves still on edge from last night's scare. On our way out, we stop at a tiny rundown gas station. The guy working the counter has this crazy leather apron on. He eyes us curiously and asks if we had any problems at the cabin. At first, we thought it was odd that he even asked us about it, like he already knew what happened. We shared our spooky encounter with him, and he nodded knowingly, suggesting that it might be the locals living in the woods who have a knack for scaring away visitors. Could he have been in on it too? Was it the locals, or some other? Who knows what out there? We thank him for the gas and decide to get out of there. With our hearts still racing from the night's scares, we chuckle and drive off. A wild mix of fear, imagination, and a touch of neighborly hostility turned our Friday the 13th adventure into a story we won't forget. And yes, we'll probably be a little more careful about choosing our spooky getaway spots in the future. Wouldn't you?
In this tale, two young souls, captivated by an ancient book, unravel mysteries beyond its pages. This story is known as Forest Shadows.
So there we were, Sarah and I, strolling into the woods on this Friday the 13th. We'd always been fascinated by Norse mythology, and this year's alignment of a 13-month calendar felt like a good excuse for a spooky adventure. Sarah, my best friend since college, had always been the daredevil of our duo. We'd met in a mythology class, bonding over our shared fascination with ancient tales and mysterious folklore. She was the kind of person who never missed a chance for an adrenaline rush, and I was her willing partner in crime. Our friendship blossomed over late-night study sessions, dissecting myths and legends, trying to understand the cultures that birthed them. She had this uncanny ability to turn even the most mundane topics into thrilling adventures, much like the one we were about to embark upon on this Friday the 13th. We had our flashlights in hand, clutching that worn-out book on Norse myths as we ventured deeper into the forest. Sarah was practically bouncing with excitement. It was evident in her eyes. She had this inexplicable fascination with mysteries and uncharted territories, something that kept our friendship dynamic and our days far from dull. As we delved deeper into the woods, it felt like the trees were gradually closing in on us. They stood tall and grand, as if guarding age-old secrets. The moonlight struggled to pierce through the dense canopy, leaving us in a half-lit world with shadows that seemed to come alive, shifting and dancing mysteriously. Our footsteps quickened, the sound echoing in the eerie silence. It was akin to a scene from a suspenseful movie, hearts racing, adrenaline surging, that gut feeling that something was off. The wind carried a distant laughter that sent shivers down our spines. It was chillingly creepy. In that moment, memories rushed in. All those tales Sarah had shared over the years. Stories that made your heart race and your breath hitch. Sarah was the one who introduced me to the thrill of seeking adventure and facing fears head-on. There was a strange kind of joy she found in things that were enigmatic and sent shivers down your spine. And then, we found ourselves in a serene clearing, flashlights at the ready. The forest seemed to hold its breath, disrupted only by occasional rustles of leaves and distant bird songs. As we began chanting those ancient words from the book, branches snapped nearby, making us jump and shine our flashlights towards the noise. It was like the forest was watching us, shadows playing games in the darkness, toying with our senses. The snapping branches created an eerie ambiance, giving us the unsettling feeling that we weren't alone. Yet, we pressed on, resolved to face this spooky adventure we had embarked upon on this particular Friday the 13th. Fear was certainly present, but so was curiosity, urging us to unveil the unknown lurking within those ancient woods. We continued deeper into the woods, the thrill of the unknown urging us forward. With every step, the sense of being watched grew stronger, and the shadows seemed to morph and twist in the moonlight. We shared nervous glances, uncertainty in our eyes, but also a determination to unravel the mysteries of this peculiar forest on this eerie night. The forest had a certain energy, a vibe that was both unsettling and exciting, pulling us deeper in. The night held secrets, and we were ready to uncover them, no matter how scary they might be. The creepy sounds and the sense that someone was watching us became too overwhelming. We couldn't shake off the eerie feeling that the forest was playing tricks on us. The cracking branches and rustling leaves felt like whispers, urging us to leave. We exchanged a glance, both sensing it was time to go. Quickly, we packed up our things and made our way back to the car, wanting to escape the clutches of the spooky forest and its unsettling mysteries. The relief of being out in the open was overwhelming. It felt like we'd been holding our breath the entire time we were in there. As we made our way to the car, we couldn't shake the feeling that the forest was still watching us, that those twisted shadows were reaching out for us. Finally reaching the car, we practically dove inside, slamming the doors shut. Sarah let out a nervous laugh, and for a moment I thought about joining in. The whole situation was so bizarre it bordered on comical. But the eerie memories were too fresh, too real. Laughter seemed like the only way to release the tension, yet it felt wrong, almost sacrilegious in that moment. We hopped into the car, turned on the engine, and drove down the gravel path. A sense of relief washed over us as we left that eerie forest behind. Looking in the rearview mirror, it seemed like the forest was getting farther, but the memory of it stayed with us, still giving us an uneasy feeling. All of a sudden, as we drove on and our headlights lit up the darkness, we both glimpsed what seemed like a shadow moving among the trees up ahead. It made us shiver. Was it just a trick of the light, or did we really see something there? We exchanged worried looks, feeling more uneasy, but we kept going, leaving the mysterious forest behind. We both knew this was a story we would rarely share, not because we didn't want to, but because it was a tale that seemed almost unbelievable. Who would think that a casual exploration of Norse mythology on a Friday the 13th could turn into such a surreal adventure? So we continued driving, the memory of that night an unspoken bond between us. And even though we wanted to laugh it off, to make light of the uncanny events, we couldn't. The memory was too vivid, too haunting. Every Friday the 13th since then, we would share uneasy glances, recalling the haunting laughter and the elusive shadows swaying in the moon's glow. We remained uncertain. Were our minds toying with us, the wind spinning eerie stories? Or was it something beyond our grasp lurking in the shadows, waiting to reveal itself? Would we ever do it again? I don't think I can.
On a rain-lashed Friday the 13th, a haunting secret awaits 3 unsuspecting roommates. Welcome to the chilling tale of the Recliner.
So there we were, in the heart of the city, living in this old worn-out building that had seen better days. The place was far from posh, but it was home to us. 3 broke college girls trying to juggle classes, exams, and pay the bills. As a psychology nut, I'm always plunging headfirst into the enigmatic sea of the human mind. Trying to unravel the weird and wonderful mysteries it holds. Then, there's Alex, the artsy soul of the group, forever lost in her own whirlwind of creativity. And last but not least, we have Emily, the pre-med wonder, fueled by a personal loss to heal the world's wounds. You've got to imagine this cozy chaos we call home, a compact studio with space just about enough for 2-day beds, a Murphy bed, and a tiny kitchen that plays peekaboo with the available space. And right in the middle of it all, the notorious recliner chair, a relic of forgotten times, staring down an ancient TV that's definitely seen better days. Now, let me tell you about that one fateful, rain-drenched night. We had just come back from a Friday the 13th frat party, laughter and spooky tales still fresh in our minds. The apartment took on this eerie vibe, shadows waltzing ominously on the peeling wallpaper, like something out of a spooky movie. All of us, worn out from the day's academic battles and the escapades of the party, simply flopped into our beds, completely oblivious to what was about to come. I woke up for the first time in the middle of the night, the dim light seeping through the crack in the bathroom door. Water was dripping from the faucet, and the light was on, painting a strange picture. Wondering who would leave the light on, I reluctantly dragged myself up and turned it off, tightening the faucet with a twist. I then crawled back into bed, letting exhaustion take over. I finally went back to sleep. For some reason, a few hours later, I was woken up again. Half asleep, I was in the strange place where I was caught between dreams and reality. I remember seeing the shadows from rain running down the windows being cast on the wall across from me. It was so eerie. My eyes darted around the dimly lit room, trying to find the reason for me being awake. There, in the recliner, I saw a silhouette of someone rocking back and forth in the shadows. Assuming it was just one of my roommates who couldn't sleep, I shrugged off the unease and went back to sleep. The next morning, we huddled around the dinky dining table, enjoying our morning coffee ritual. Still buzzing with the bizarre encounter from the previous night. I couldn't hold it in any longer, so I blurted out, "Did anyone else feel that weird vibe last night?" Alex rubbed her eyes, still half asleep.
Weird vibe? Like what?
I don't know, like a strange vibe. A feeling that something wasn't right. I tried to put words to the unsettling sensation, stirring my coffee absent-mindedly. Emily chimed in and said,
"Maybe it was just the rain and darkness playing tricks on your mind?"
But I hesitated. I actually saw someone in the recliner. I assumed it was one of you. Their eyes widened, surprise dawning on them. Emily quickly shook her head, disowning any nighttime adventures.
"Wasn't me. I was in La La Land."
"I didn't get up at all," she added, still trying to process. Baffled, we both looked at Alex, who looked equally bewildered by our morning conspiracy talk.
I swear it wasn't me. I woke up too and there was someone in the chair, but I thought it was one of you.
Alex then went on to tell us that whoever was in the chair was turning the TV on and off, over and over again. It would flicker between static and noise. As we sat there, huddled around the table, exchanging our bizarre experiences of the night before, a heavy blanket of fear and confusion settled upon us. The realization that none of us were behind the mysterious presence in the recliner was chilling. Goosebumps crept up our arms as we grappled with the possibility that something supernatural had taken place, or that some stranger had broken into the apartment while we were sleeping. After we got ourselves ready for the day, we thought of chatting with our neighbor, a sweet old lady who knew all the neighborhood gossip. We were curious about the history of our place, and what she told us left our jaws hanging. The apartment had been empty for more than a year, after the last tenant mysteriously vanished, leaving the place in a ghostly silence. This sent shivers down our spine. Could it be possible that we had encountered the spirit of the previous tenant, still lingering within the walls of the apartment? In the following weeks, that spooky night replayed in our minds like a broken record. The apartment, once a small but cozy haven, now felt eerie and unsettling. The chair where the mysterious figure sat became a relic of fear, and we quickly got rid of it. The memory of that Friday the 13th night had us in its grip, making us feel unsafe, as if we were never truly alone. When our lease was up, we packed our bags and moved out. The fear of the unknown pushed us to seek a new place, away from the specter of that haunting night. Yet, even in our new home, we couldn't shake off the feeling that whatever happened that night might still wander the dimly lit corners of our memories.
as the midnight hour wanes on this fateful Friday the 13th, and we bid farewell. Remember, superstitions may fade, but the echoes of fear linger on. Embrace the darkness until we meet again. Good night, and sweet nightmares.